Hello, everybody. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to the subscriber who recommended me to this new software so that I can deliver a better talk with visuals than with the previous software. So this is called Coronavirus and the Thought Police. So the main topic that I'm going to be looking at is how they are trying to control our minds, control the narrative, and just keep control of the narrative on the story. First of all, I want to alert you to the fact that Brian Rose of London Live, who did that David Icke interview, which went viral and was subsequently banned, and Brian Rose was banned from Twitter, from Facebook, from YouTube, etc. He's now set up his own platform, which is partially crowd-funded. He was very fortunate in raising a lot of funds, and he's going to be doing a third and final interview with David Icke. He's calling it the trilogy. I'm sure there'll be other interviews with David Icke in the future, but this will be the third major one, talking about the virus. It'll be aired on May 3rd. There's lots of interesting information. I don't think you necessarily have to buy into or believe everything David said. It's very important for him to have free speech, and I certainly support a lot of what he's saying. And the way he is encouraging people to let go of their fear, to embrace the fact that they are eternal consciousness, and to live their life fearlessly and to not be brainwashed and to think for themselves, which is really important, of course. As you know, I follow Gemma O'Doherty, and her and John Waters have been taking the Irish government as lay litigants to court over the coronavirus legislation in Ireland and the lockdown. They are challenging that based on the constitution. They've had 2 court hearings. Obviously, they're just trying to filibust and delay and draw things out, but I think they're doing really well. They're creating awareness as they do it, and I do think we need to challenge this legislation, because whatever anyone thinks about whether this virus is really dangerous, it's a threat, it's a hoax, or whatever, we know that our civil liberties are at stake, and they may not, after the lockdown, withdraw some of these rules. There's already been an overreach on purely unscientific premises. A lot of the things that police are doing, looking in people shopping, this whole social distancing and whatnot, it's all based on unscientific premises and guesswork. And another thing that's come to light, before I go on to these pictures there, is that a lot of the signs, Gemma was showing it, I saw another YouTuber in Montana who was showing all these kind of elaborate, graphically designed signs they've got everywhere, saying, oh, this about coronavirus, reminding people of social distancing, all the little graphics and and the way it's written and the prose and everything. It seems these were ready to go. I mean, this guy in Montana said that he lives in a far corner of Montana where virtually nothing goes on. And he says, funnily enough, these little stickers, these signboards, these advertising posts are everywhere. He says it's almost like they were in a warehouse, already printed and just ready to go. Gemma was showing on a lot of the paths where they've got painted, just as you would paint your traffic directions or the yield signs or whatever it is on the road, but on pavements they've painted in white paint pictures of stick people with the 2-meter arrows between them to remind them of social distancing. And Gemma said, do you think this is just for a temporary lockdown? This ain't going away. And I'd say that's kind of a good point. So anyhow, Sky News did a poll, as you can see here, and Ian Dale was tweeting about it with great dismay. It says 72% of people do not trust the newspapers on the issue of coronavirus. 64% don't trust TV journalists on the issue of coronavirus. Well, is that any surprise? Since we've had ordinary people, not journalists, being able to go onto YouTube and broadcast, we've come to realize that there's a wealth of talent. There are some incredibly intrepid investigators, some great analysts, some really intelligent people out there. And very informed professionals who are able to talk about their sphere of influence and to explain it to people on YouTube in a way that journalists don't bother to do. We all know that every journalist on radio or in the print media, there's a gatekeeper called an editor or a radio station owner who's going to tell them what to talk about, what not to talk about, what the agenda is, what the narrative is, and they all stick to it absolutely religiously. Is it any wonder that people are looking to the independent media for much better quality of information, in many cases much more entertaining information that's not patronizing? I mean, in the past, my only avenue to express my view was to ring up a radio station, and I had to rely on the host allowing me to talk and not cutting me off, fading me out, or trying to obfuscate with ridiculous questions and put me off my track. I had to rely on that. But now I can speak to you guys directly. And I don't really publicize my videos a lot because I think I don't go on Twitter and say, here's what I'm talking about, because I think it's up to you guys to distribute them to people you think will be interested. Because I think you can be a victim of your own success. The more popular you get, the more you're going to attract the wrong kind of attention and censorship. So I'm quite glad I have a very little niche, although I'm sure I do come to the attention of certain people at certain times. So, like I was saying, it's great to see that people are being skeptical, are using their own minds, and are not listening to the nonsense on the radio. Because all journalists do is regurgitate what official sources say. They don't employ their mind. They don't analyze figures and number crunch and ask critical questions. They are far too fawning, too sycophantic to the experts. They don't cross-question things. They don't think for themselves. They see the word expert and they all get immediately on tenterhooks and scared, because a lot of these people in radio, I don't think don't value their own intelligence or their own critical thinking. So they see an expert, they go to jelly and they believe everything they're saying, when a lot of these experts really need to be quizzed. Okay, I'll just mention that I want to do a little broadcast after this where I'm going to be talking about a very important subject, which is corruption and conflict of interests in the vaccine industry, and especially what's going on here in the UK. I think you guys will like that. It's a lot more in depth. I'll be reading some stuff, but I hope to just bring it to life, maybe not make it so dry. So as you can see there on the screen, this was on UK Column. It's a quote by Julian Knight MP. Says at the bottom there, it's from the House of Commons. He says, "We are asking the public to send us examples of false information they find re COVID-19, particularly on private channels." So basically they're asking friends on Facebook to stitch people up and stitch friends up and report their friends for fake news. And it probably isn't fake news at all. Maybe they're just talking about vitamin C, which apparently now is something you're not supposed to be talking about. It says, "We'll ask government and social media companies how they are tackling it when the House of Commons returns." Well, let's hope they don't return, because this is not serving the people at all. They are there to be our servants. They are not there to be our thought police. They need to get on with the job of running their country, restoring the economy, and getting to the bottom of what this virus is. And I don't think they have a clue. Is it a virus? Have they even isolated the virus? Does anyone know what this is? And why don't the tests work? And why are they using PCR tests when the person who invented it in 1984 says that it's not appropriate test for a virus? There are big questions to be asked. Our MPs aren't asking them. All they're interested in is passing laws and censoring us. Then, another quote from Julian Knight MP. I don't know if any you guys know him, which is his constituency. He says the deliberate spreading of false information about COVID-19 could have serious consequences. Much of this is happening on social media through private channels. Do you get that word private? They're not just now talking about people who are doing YouTube broadcasts to the public or tweeting where it's widely available. They are actually, seems to me, talking about people having conversations with people they think are their Facebook friends. Private conversations. Do you think that Facebook are going to start vetting our private messages that we send to people for any hints of chat about the fact that we might be chatting with David Icke? Maybe they'll monitor our private messages for that and cancel them. Who knows? So he says, "We put the onus on friends and family to identify whether the information they are seeing is misleading." Again, encouraging us, like in East Germany, to rat on our friends and family. How do they know what's misinformation? Who decides what misinformation? I'll tell you who decides. The people with the money. Bill Gates, who's funding everything to do with vaccines. He decides what's misinformation. He can call, if people are encouraging the taking of zinc, which you really should be taking for your health, vitamin C, vitamin D, getting your sunlight, getting exercise. That's disinformation. The only thing you should be saying to people is, "I can't wait for the vaccine. The vaccine is the only thing that would save us." I mean, you don't want people talking about how many people are getting this. It's a tiny, tiny fraction of people that are getting this to shut down a whole economy. Isn't it more worrying, all the people who aren't getting their regular tests, scans, cancer treatments, numerous other treatments that they should be having, are stopped. Hospitals empty, hence all these TikTok videos of nurses dancing. We're clapping for people who aren't working, who are becoming performance artists because hospitals are closed to deal with COVID. by and large. I find it very worrying, these two quotes, and I think this guy needs to be called out. This is authoritarian. It's interfering with our potentially our private correspondences. It's setting a dangerous precedent, and it's telling us what we are and are not allowed to think about this. There's numerous information from experienced virologists, epidemiologists, biologists, doctors out there. You cannot say all those people are not informed, and if we want to share information about it, we should be. David Icke was saying that your potential to share information with other people is limited. So if you share a video, say more than 5 times, Facebook will probably come down on you for spamming. So, you have to be careful of that. But anyway, isn't that worrying, guys? That is really worrying. So the next thing, I hope you can't see that, it's still Sputnik update. I hope will go away soon so I can scroll on till the next picture. I just think, really, what's going on with this coronavirus is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm also going to be talking a little bit further down here. Yes, we can now travel down the page. How fortunate. UK column ran this poll. Should the UK public trust Bill Gates in health and vaccine matters and policy? Only 7.8% trust Bill Gates. I bet that 7.8% love the BBC. Or maybe they like James O'Brien as well. 92% sensible people do not trust him. We all should be skeptical of someone who's portraying themselves as this great philanthropist that wants to foist vaccines on us. This is not just about the vaccine, is it? It's ID 2020, and I'm going to come to that in another broadcast. Now, this actually really upset me, this story on Sky today. It says, coronavirus. Woman named and shamed by neighbours on Facebook for not joining the clap for carers. What'll it be next, guys? Burning at the stake? It's just going back to the Salem Witch Trials. They're getting people so hit up, such in a panic, constant fear porn, getting people into this whole jingoistic thing with clapping for the NHS, that if someone doesn't do it, it's named and shamed, and Sky News carry the story like it's a good thing. I think the neighbours should be named and shamed for bullying. What was desperately sad is that this poor woman was grovelling and apologising for her existence, making all sorts of excuses about why she didn't clap. She just should have said, I didn't, and that's my private right. No one is obliged. Apparently neighbours were saying that, she shouldn't get help next time she goes to the NHS because she doesn't appreciate it. She pays for that through her taxes. There's no requirement for this childish nonsense. The fact that it's carrying on now for the 5th week, I find actually absurd. And it's distressing that Sky News carry the story like it's something to be proud of. This is desperate. What effect has this coronavirus had on people's minds that they think that this is acceptable behaviour? It's an invasion of that lady's privacy. It's nothing to do with anybody. Maybe she just doesn't want to get involved. You can stay in your home and clap if you want to feel appreciative. You don't have to go outside in the street and join in some nonsense. I mean, it's like getting cross with people if they don't support England in a World Cup because maybe they, come from Poland. They support Poland. No, you're going to support England. I mean, it's utter nonsense. And what was more disconcerting was that Sky News didn't carry the story in a very critical light. They merely reported the story like it was some good thing and like they were giving this poor woman a chance to tell her side of the story. I think people should be going out with banners that say davidicke.com, infowars.com, and I don't want Bill Gates' vaccine. In fact, I think we should go out with a banner that says, my body, my choice. Or it could say something like no to mandatory vaccines. Now that's the sensible thing to be doing, not behaving like sheep. So these were examples of some stories that really wound me up. I'm sure you guys will agree that this is nonsense and ludicrous and indication of a very sad direction that we're going in. Anyway, I hope all you guys are well. I hope you're taking lots of vitamins, eating loads of vegetables and fruit, taking care of your health and just being sensible.